Shalom and welcome to the Israel Beach Jewish Music Podcast here on Arutz Sheva Israel National Radio. I am your host, Benjamin Bresky, and we are here in Jerusalem at Trumpeldor Vintage. I am sitting with the owners, Avi and Shira Friedman, and there's a lot of clothes on racks and Purim costumes and hats and people walking in and out. And so why don't you guys tell me exactly who you are and what you're doing?
I'm Avi, and this is my wife, Shira, and Shira has had this store for about 5 years now, and I joined her in this mission once I married her. Our mission is to clothe all of Jerusalem and surrounding areas with awesome vintage and secondhand. Right now, we're gearing up for Purim. Everyone loves our Purim selection. We have amazing pieces, vintage pieces, timepieces, different themes. We have, different types of dress-ups from 60s, 70s, 80s. We have animal costumes, and we love putting people's ideas into reality and making them happen.
And what's important to know, it's not packaged, made in China costumes. It's things we put together creatively with the customers. We have a lot of knowledge on, time periods and stuff. We have some great books which list costumes from the last few centuries and, gives people ideas and put things together and, yeah. So
what are you guys going to dress up as this year?
That's the everyone wants to know that part. Well, every year we definitely, everyone says they have the best costume, but I think, have the best costumes.
Also, Purim is like a 3-day affair here, so, you get to change all the time. And also, Jerusalem's biggest street party is right outside the store. So as the day progresses, we keep coming in, getting changed, whatever we feel like. But honestly, at this point,
I don't know what we dress up as.
We don't know yet.
Usually, what we do is we wait until the end, the last day, and then Purim comes, and after 3 weeks of working hard, getting everyone dressed up in the best clothing, we
friends and we have a dress up party. And we put crazy things together. When I tell people I don't know what I'm dressing up as yet, they don't believe me.
It's true. we close the doors and then we get to go crazy and have fun by ourselves with all this stuff around.
Well, last year we had a family theme. This time we did plan in advance. We have a dog that looks very much like a wolf. So I was Little Red Riding Hood and he was, the wolf dressed up as grandma. He had a little bonnet and looked quite miserable. And we gave out, mishloach manot and little baskets and red checkered cloths. And Avi was the woodcutter. Not such an integral part of actually, yes. You went and butchered. So that was a theme, family theme.
I think my best costume last year was I was a sheep in wolf's clothing. I wore 2 sheep furs on me, and then a full wolf's fur over the top of it, and that was a good one.
Okay, now tell us where you get these clothes from the 1920s and this unusual vintage, this fur coat you're wearing. Where does all this stuff come from?
Firstly, our sources are secret. We do a lot of hunting, treasure. Well, firstly, Purim we prepare for all year round. So whenever we find a good piece, we collect it. Customers bring us things, but we mostly go around the country, sometimes overseas. We go to people who are clearing out houses or big warehouses of secondhand merchandise, and we select each thing and wash each thing and repair each thing. So
last week I did a buying trip in Amsterdam, brought back amazing vintage clothing dresses from Amsterdam, and we're going to use those for our spring launch to get that going. But generally most of the stuff we get from customers, from markets, from wherever we can. Whenever you do something and it's your job, you do everything to make sure you do it the best and find every little piece and nook and cranny. So
also, I have 5 years of experience of, finding all the spots, and it adds up. But we get that question a lot. Where does the stuff come from? Because I guess when you walk in a room full of crazy things, it's like, how do you collect each and every piece?
And how did you start this 5 years ago?
Well, I did not start it. It was started by Yehuda from Cafe Y down the road. It was a project he and his wife undertook, and after a few months, she was busy. She was studying architecture, so then they passed the business on to a woman called Nama Frankel, and that's when I started working. Me and Nama Frankel worked together. I would buy and decorate, and then after a year, I bought the business from her. So that is the full history. But we really improved it day by day.
And this room, because there's a domed ceiling and heavy brick walls. So what's the history of this building?
It's over probably 100 years old, this building.
It's been a lot of different things. It's been a carpentry workshop, I know. I think someone said at one point it was some sort of framing shop, a bakery. It's usually like a workshop kind of thing in the neighborhood. But
someone lived here at some point. But this is going back probably almost 100 years. Just I can imagine the street looking like something else and people living here. I mean, it comes with its problems, dampness and...
Don't be fooled by the heavy brick walls. The cement that they used to use back in the day was mostly just sand.
A lot of upkeep, keeping a really old building like this.
That's the price you pay to be located in an awesome neighborhood, though.
Okay, let's talk about the big white wedding dress that greets you as soon as you walk in.
Many of them. We have this year, last year and the year before, some of the most, we had maybe 2 or 3 wedding dresses that we had that were, ogled and oohed at by girls.
Typical wedding dresses, 70s, 80s, things that are over the top, very costume-like, that are versatile.
This year we have many more. Last year we had 2 or 3. Now this year we have 50? Yeah, about 50 wedding dresses. Over the top, 1980s, 1970s.
Bows,
beads,
all of it.
Like really over the top wedding dresses that make amazing costumes, and we're selling them from between 100 to 200, 250 shekels are most of them. There's 1 or 2 that are 300 shekels. They're real beautiful gowns from like the 40s that are 40s, 50s. They're just really awesome. We wanted to get everyone in Jerusalem, not everyone. We wanted to have a whole at the Nachlaot, party that goes on. We wanted to see tons of wedding dresses, and hopefully we will.
We were trying to make a bridal march, get 50 people to, but, it was a lot of work before Purim, but that would have been hilarious.
What's fun also about them is you can, because they're only, 100, 150 shekels, you can just buy them and you don't have to, be careful, it's a white wedding dress. You get that thing nasty and drag it in the mud.
You can dye them, you can, do all sorts of things
Cut
to
them
it.
up.
Who buys these things?
A lot of anyone who wants to dress up.
I mean, would a serious bride would?
Oh, for serious brides, I have at our house about 100 beautiful vintage wedding dresses that aren't, over the top cupcake 80s, stuff. I have really, really nice things, anything from the 20s to the 70s that these I rent or I sell. So that's the more serious collection, and that is very, very popular amongst the brides today. But these ones are for fun.
You can find those dresses on the Facebook page, Trumpeldor Vintage Bridal Gowns.
Yeah, we've done amazing photo shoots. So I get together with photographers and makeup artists all the time, and we go to the woods or different locations, and we make beautiful pictures, the wedding dresses.
Shira was lucky enough to be able to take part in what was probably the first and only bridal shoot in the snow in Jerusalem. I don't think there's ever been a snow bridal shoot in Israel before. It's very popular in other countries to do bridal shoots in the snow, and Shira was awake at 6 a.m. the morning of the big snow that we had here, and they went out to gun soccer. We
went out in the storm, but by the time we got to the park, it cleared for a couple of moments, and we got some shots. But it was pretty freezing being in a wedding dress in the snow.
That photo shoot was actually featured on Mako, Mako.co.il. That was featured there. It was also featured on some wedding blogs. It was a really amazing photo shoot.
Once again, it features my dog, my wolf-looking dog. It was the 2 of us in the snow.
Now, this is a question for the wedding dress and for the rest of the things, but what's in fashion, and is vintage in fashion? Is the 70s back in style, or what do you think?
Well, anything vintage is in fashion. I don't think vintage really goes out of fashion. Year by year, there's always, a new fad, a new something that dies down. At the end of a season, many stores, they have nothing to do with their stock. They'll have to, sell it to other places. But, we just pack it away for the next year because it'll always be in style, it'll always be popular.
One of the key points why people really love vintage and this kind of secondhand is the quality of the clothing. We sometimes walk around in town and go to some of these stores and we see, forget who cares about the prices, just the actual clothing themselves. They're all made of plastics and all sorts of just man-made materials, and when you feel them, they don't feel nice, and they make you sweat, and they pull, and they have weird sounds when your fingernails scratch against them. But these are beautiful, beautiful, beautiful materials. Things are made of raw silks and cotton and linens and real wool sweaters, not just a sweater made of polyester, something that keeps you actually warm. So
not only that, if you're someone who really likes good quality stuff, you have to spend a lot of money at malls and boutiques. And I don't know any young people and students who really have that kind of money to spend hundreds and hundreds, even up to thousands on, really nice pieces. So it really makes the most sense to just get it vintage and secondhand, where you can enjoy beautiful luxury items on your student budget.
It's also a lot to do with the lifestyle choice. I mean, with the amount of waste that comes from creating new clothes. These big companies, when they create a line of clothing, they'll sell a whole bunch of it. Maybe they sell most of it, but then there's that stock that's left over that they don't have anything to do with. They don't store it. They ship it off to some other country that they don't. They say that they're sending them out to kids in this countries and this and that. I'm sure they are sending some, but it's just generating more waste. It's creating more. There's so many articles of clothing in this world, probably more than there are people to wear them, and they just why not reuse what's around? Just like so people who like to reuse and like to be a part of being active in saving the planet, they want to come shop here.
So there are so many different reasons for vintage and secondhand. Of course, the style, having something no one else has, and having a piece that really, reflects you. That
also goes back to the Purim also. When you really want something that, on Purim, you want something that no one has seen before and no one has done before. And when you go to these other, costume stores and you're getting a prepackaged, I don't know, Power Ranger outfit or something like that, it's fun, but, you could also run into someone else wearing it, or, it looks like someone made it for you. When you come into the store and you get inspired by a piece like a ruffled shirt and you want to be a pirate, and not just a pirate out of plastic, but you come in and you create your own pirate outfit from all sorts of different pieces. It's fun.
It looks more authentic because it's real materials, it's real textures.
This is a two-part question. I want to know where you guys are from and how you ended up here in Jerusalem. And I want to know what you dressed up as a child for Purim, or maybe a Purim memory from childhood.
How did I get to Jerusalem? Well, I was born in Memphis, Tennessee, and lived all around the States. And I moved to Israel when I was 17. I dropped out of high school and came to learn yeshiva for a year. After the year, I stayed, went to the army, did the whole Israel circuit, and I've been here for 9 years now. Shira has been here for 6 years almost?
Yeah, almost 6 years. And I come from Johannesburg, South Africa. I made Aliyah when I was 21. Didn't have a plan whatsoever. I did a ulpan and a kibbutz for almost the first year, and then when I moved to Jerusalem, to Nachlaot, I really didn't know what to do with myself, and that's when I walked past this store that had just opened, and met Nama, and we started working together.
As opposed to me, when I came to the shop, I knew what I was doing. Someone told me there was a cute girl in here. I was living across the street at the time, working as a bartender. Figured I'd hedge my bets, and I came in looking for something more than a nice dress.
But when you two got married, did that include that you would work together in the shop?
That was the plan, yeah. I was already bothering her and sticking around all day. I was bartending at nights, so I was pretty much in the store from opening till closing for a couple months.
Because he loved to cook. He would bring me lunch every day, and I guess that's what sealed the deal. I liked having him around.
We both like old things and clothing, so it just made sense. I have a sales background, and she has a great clothing background and running the business, and so we just...
Running the business, I just figured out as I went along, really. I mean, I was, at the time, 23 when I bought it.
With all our powers combined, we are Captain Trumpeldor.
Oh my God, Captain Trumpeldor, because Now, this is a little about me. I read the most inspiring book about Captain Yosef Trumpeldor and how he lost his arm and he moved to Tel Chai, and he fought for the freedom of Israel and so on and so forth. And for the life of me, I couldn't figure out why anyone would name the store Trumpeldor, and you had to explain it to me.
I think he went through all that just so we could have an interesting store name. I'm sure he's rolling in his grave now. But yeah, it's Trumpeldor Vintage, since Mr. Trumpeldor only had one hand, and this is a second-hand store, so...
Yeah, it's a little... it works well in Hebrew. Trumpeldor Yad Shniya, second-hand. I mean, more than that, it sounds kind of noble, Trumpeldor.
But to give credit where credit is due, we did not come up with the name. An artist in the neighborhood named Yoram came up with that name.
Okay.
Something an Israeli would come up with, I think.
Costumes. So we dressed up as kids.
Yeah, so, I mean, as a child, my best memories was every year, Purim time, my mom taking down the big suitcase full of costumes and just dressing up, and something I love to do. I was creative. I love to perform for my mom and my sisters and dress up. And when I play games with my brothers, I don't know, cops and robbers or something, he'd be ready to play, and I'd spend, half an hour getting the costume right and the helmet and and then he'd go lose interest. Something always appealed to me. I mean, not dressing up in terms of, fashion and, materialism, just more like, the fun, the theater, the self-expression,
being an animal. You wanted to dress up as animals and stuff, huh? You just wanted to be a creature.
And I would dress up my animals as well.
Wait, your pets dressed up for Purim? Is that what you're saying?
Well, my pets back home, I weren't really the type you could take around with you. Like I had, chickens and things, but I would dress them up at home.
You had more than just chickens and things.
And sheep and a goat and a monkey and all sorts of stuff.
How is it that you had a goat and a monkey?
They were married. No.
To the goat and the monkey were married, or?
I mean, you'd assume, she's from South Africa, people have pets. But we lived in, like, typical suburbia, people walk past and hear, like, sheep baying. It was bizarre. It was just, something my family did. My mom liked to get interesting things for us to look after. It was a lot of fun.
And what about your Purim experiences growing up?
I don't remember too many costumes, but I know that I'm one of 6 boys, and so my mom, every year, she would take the youngest child and dress them up as a girl, just so that she would... Usually they were not even, conscious of the fact that was going on. They're babies or infants, but she always dressed them up as a girl. So I know that dressed up as that once. And my only other memory really of my costume was one year. I know I really wanted to make an awesome costume, and I decided I would be a ghost. And so I cut out a sheet and put it over, and I put on a piece of paper over my face, and that was it. But it wasn't too impressive when I saw a picture of it recently.
I remember all my costumes. I think my favorite when I was about 8, I got dressed up as like a Scottish lass. I put together all the stuff with the plaid, and then I took like a big barrel and stuck some like cheap, flutes in them and covered the whole thing in plaid and, blew it out my little bagpipes and skip around.
Oh, I just remembered one. I was once Mr. Clean. I went to a store and I got one of these bald head, caps, and I was bald and I put a fake earring in, and I figured that was Mr. Clean.
I don't know who Mr. Clean is. I'm from South Africa, but I assume it's a cleaning product guy. Yeah. We had like something else. I don't know. His name was Mr. Shiny or something, and he was like in a tuxedo.
And probably also bald.
Okay. Thank you guys very much. Once again, Trumpeldor Vintage on Nissim Bahar Street in the Nachlaot neighborhood of Jerusalem, and jtrade.co. Thank you, Avi and Shira Friedman. Any final words you want to say about anything?
Good Purim. Purim. Yeah.
Good Purim.
And definitely make sure, to come get your costume at Trumpeldor Vintage. We will also be open on Sunday of Purim. We will still be open that Sunday.
Any last-minute costume buys.
Last-minute costume if you haven't found something. And then Shushan Purim, Monday, we will be closed because we will be partying it up. But just know that Nissim Bahar is the place to be for Purim in Jerusalem. At about 12:30, 1 o'clock, it starts filling up. And by 2, 3 o'clock, cars can't come through. It's packed with people, and it's really, really beautiful sight.
Thank you, Gus.
Thank you very much.
You've been listening to the Israel Beach Jewish Music Podcast here on Arut Sheva Israel National Radio. I'm your host, Benjamin Bresky, and if you have any questions or comments, you can email me at bbresky@israelnationalradio.com. That's spelled BBRESKY @israelnationalradio.com. You can also look up Israel Beat on Facebook and Twitter. Stay tuned for more music after the break here on Israel National Radio.